Welcome to Cowgirl Talk, where we empower you to live authentically through real food, real talk, and real life. Sisters brought together by our love of cows. We're your host, Emily, a dairy lover and personal trainer living in Florida.
And Becca, a corporate cowgirl holding down the family fort in Pennsylvania. Let's go, cowgirls!
Hello, and welcome back to Cowgirl Talk. Today's episode was such a fun conversation that I'm so excited for y'all to listen to. We had a conversation with Michelle Shack, also known as Dairy Doc on social media, but she's a veterinarian and she's now based in Arizona, but she just brought in such a fresh perspective into agriculture, into being involved with veterinarian work, working in animal ag, because while she is now involved in agriculture, she grew up in Silicon Valley, she basically told us. And again, she just talked about situations or different topics that maybe people in ag look at a different way, but she was able to look at it in a way of, okay, I have the perspective of being an ag, but also a consumer, and really just the theme of being inclusive to those who want to learn more, which I think is really what we try to talk a lot about on this podcast. And yeah, I just got so excited from that conversation. I think y'all will really enjoy it as well. And so we can dive in. Y'all know, as always, we first start with our highs and lows. And so Becca, she said she had some lows to share with us this week, but we got to start with the highs first. Let's start. Or do you want to start with the ugly thing first? It's like, here's the bad news, but then here's the good news.
Yeah, let's start with the lows and then go with
Give
the
it
highs.
to me.
Well, okay, so as of the recording, yesterday was 30 days out from our wedding, and oh my gosh, okay, so that's not the high, but this can be a high. And we're a week out from the bachelorette and a month out from the wedding, and then a month out from the honeymoon and a lot of time off of work. So it has just been, for some reason, this week at work has been astronomically more stressful than I've ever experienced. I think it was getting hit with a lot of different projects and questions, and when I really thought I was starting to figure it out, I was just getting hit with all of these things that made me realize, oh my god, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And at one point there was just I was having a call with someone and they were explaining something to me, and I had people teamsing me and slacking me, and someone was calling me on my cell phone, and the person on this call was like talking about how something wasn't working, and all of a sudden it just went like white.
Damn.
It was crazy. I think I was on the brink of a panic attack.
Wow.
Like, not to be dramatic.
No,
but
I mean, that's not being dramatic. That's
like
real.
my brain went fuzzy. It just it was almost like an out of body experience for 10 seconds. And then I came back to, and thankfully I didn't like miss anything that critical in the conversation, but I realized, holy shit, I need to take a minute. And so I took Phoebe on a walk.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was much better, and everything is fine. Like, quite literally after that, everything was fine. But it was just a crazy moment of like, oh wow, I'm really stressed and I'm letting this get to me. And it was not just work. It's a lot of outside factors of, okay, my photographer is texting me 10 million miles a minute. The caterer messaged me something. One of my bridesmaids asked me something, or like Joey asked me something, or we have to pay this bill. And it was just a lot of
sensory overload, man.
Man, it was, but I'm really tired today. And I think that we got a lot done for the wedding too. So yeah, that was my low.
Well, thanks for bringing the energy today in the podcast still.
Yeah, no, this was a nice way to cap it off. And it was like, okay, I'm going to leave my desk a little bit early to record this. And it's the Masters weekend. We'll watch some golf. I'll pretend like I know anything other than the wives I follow on Instagram. And but yeah, so no, it was a moment of like recognizing I pushed myself past my limit and I needed to take a break. So
which can turn into not a high, but like a learning lesson, right? Lows can always turn into that. Just knowing where your boundaries are, because you already have a lot going on. And then I know from experience as well, it's just the wedding. It's such a positive thing, but it's always looming there. Like, that's always there. And it just adds another element of craziness.
Yeah. And, I think another thing that I reflected on is that I've made such progress in this position, and I am doing really great things, and I'm really doing a great job, that now people are coming to me with more things and more questions. that I don't know. And so it's like, okay, it's all just a part of the journey of becoming the expert in this position that I've taken. So, but I would say my high is, well, okay, next week's The Bachelorette. That's going to be amazing.
Yay!
But I might save more of that high for our next episode. I had a bunch of diamonds laying around. That
What? Okay. Let's go rob Becca.
Like, since, you know, gifts or things I've bought for myself over the years, I had all these pieces of jewelry that I just never wore. And they were just laying around, not getting used. So I just decided to take them all in to our local jeweler that's right by our house. And I was like, can you help me design something with these
I thought you were going to sell these things like a pawn shop.
No, my God, no, So I got to design, like, it's very simple, but just all of my diamonds, I just got them added into a necklace. And it was fun to have this like little creative outlet.
That's pretty.
And getting to repurpose something that was frankly being a bit wasteful in my home. And yeah, so now I have a really nice piece of jewelry that's like reminiscent of graduating college when I bought the first diamond pendant and other things I've been gifted and purchased for myself, all into this like new Mrs. Peffer era necklace for me.
It is beautiful. For anyone who isn't watching the video, it's a gold chain.
Yeah, it's like it just has like white gold basil set diamonds of like different sizes.
I love those style of necklaces. I know that people who rock statement necklaces, y'all look awesome. I'm just not that person that can own that. So I love necklaces like that. And I remember we were in Fort Worth. I think it was us, my first year of YDLI. We went to that one store that had a turquoise necklace that almost looked like that with the diamonds on it as well. And it was it was fairly priced, but it was like, oh, I'm not going to buy this. So that kind of reminds me of it.
Yeah, and well, since I already had the diamonds, this was a lot lower than I expected it to be. And it was a much more affordable way to have a nice new piece of jewelry to celebrate. Like, I've done a lot for myself. We're getting married. We've this new job. We've organized finances. We've kept our dog alive. Like,
yay.
Any excuse I could think of to say, yes, I deserve this.
I'm the best.
But it was fun. It was just a fun little thing to do for myself.
Good.
And I had a lot of fun with the jeweler doing it.
Good. Yeah.
Shout out, Kelsey.
You got to put the sparkle in your day. Like, what do people call it? The sprinkles. Like sprinkles of happiness.
Yeah. Or like how to lose a guy in 10 days. Dust yourself with diamonds. That's what I thought of whenever I put it on.
I need to rewatch that movie.
They wear much more in that movie to be dusted.
Yeah.
I expect.
Yeah, like how you call me, what did you call me? Tiny and tatted or something?
Oh.
Or, but you called it something like that. You're like, not sprinkle, you're sparsely and something. Like, it was just not the same.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, what did I say? Well, go back and listen and tell us.
It was funny. But that's how you talking about your diamonds. Yeah, compared to that movie, that's what it reminds me.
Dainty and dotted.
Dainty and dotted.
You're not tough and tatted. You're dainty and dotted.
Yes, that's like your equivalent from necklaces to that. Dusted and diamonds. But still, it's beautiful either way.
Thank you. What about you, Emmy? What you got going on?
Well, this has been our first week, like full week home without traveling. Well, Ruben, he just travels a little bit for work all the time, but I love going on trips. I love seeing family and all that amazing things. Getting to see you guys, his family, whatever it is, that's amazing. But it's just, it can be chaotic when you don't have an actual routine set. So we've just been able to be home all week, and I've been able to just get back in your routine with meal prep, got in the gym lots this week. I'm committing myself to just more cardio in general. Strength training is important. Y'all know that. But I just recognize I need to get back in the cardio game a little bit. My endurance is not where it needs to be. And so it just felt so nice getting into a little bit more of a routine this week. And a very simple high, but just one that, well, we literally talked about it last week. Spring cleaning habits, they all impact you. And me being able to get back into those and more consistent with them, I just feel a whole lot better. And also a high is I have a crimper. I got it like last summer. And I don't know, for some reason I went on a phase with it. I feel like we all do that. And then I was like, I don't want to use it anymore. And I broke it out yesterday with my really short hair. And I was like, this looks kind of cute. And so that was just
It's fun.
Yes. And with the short hair,
it's very fun.
it really holds up some volume. And so that's a high of just a fun new way to style my short hair. Because short hair, you can't do as much with it. I love it, but you're a little limited. Ma'am. Other than my crimped hair being home this week, also with that, I don't necessarily have a low. I would just say in terms of being an adult and still not having a permanent place to call home, that just feels like we're just in that stage of life. I know you and Joe can probably relate.
It's the worst. You know what? It's so annoying
It is.
that you don't have something that's like, home is where the heart is, sure. But like,
no, but yeah, like
home is where we might permanently be would be a nice feeling of just like relief and security of knowing this is like, oh, okay, this is our home for a while.
Exactly.
Like a while.
Yeah, that you can really make it your own. And again, I'm not much of an interior person, but just even in terms of moving, I have been since leaving Pennsylvania, graduating from college, moved to Georgia. We were in an apartment. And then in Florida, this is my fourth place that I've been in Florida. We've been kind of within the same area, but it's the fourth house we've been in. And, you know, with that, you don't necessarily have a permanent spot, which is fine. But I am so ready to just feel like I have a place and somewhere that I can really settle in and build some community. And I don't know, we thought we had found some properties that, you know, some land. It was like we could build on this, and they weren't insanely priced like everything else in Florida is. And they didn't work out. And it's like, oh my God, this is impossible. And I know things will work out how they're supposed to, but that was just kind of you let yourself get on that high of, oh, it's working. This is going to happen. You convince yourself.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't follow through, and it just puts you back at square one. So
yeah, well, you get excited about the idea of something. Yes. And then once I feel like you get set on the idea, and you as a general term, like when you get set on the idea of, okay, now it's the real time to buy a house. It's like, I want it now.
Yeah.
I want it now, and I'm tired of waiting. And it's like, it's going to be a long process.
Yes.
And it's going to be a frustrating process. But I 100% get where you're coming from. And this might sound silly, but we're getting all of this amazing new cookware
I've seen
dishware and silverware. Like, basically, we have everything we need, so we used our wedding as an excuse to get gifted nicer versions of everything we have. But, like, we can't put anything out.
Yeah.
Or I can't have up my cow art wall, because then I'm just going to have to take it down when we move.
Or it's too much cow, too.
There's not a lot of space for cow in here. But yeah, I 100% get what you mean. It's like, it's exciting to know that there is a place up, exciting but frustrating that you're not in your home yet. Mm-hmm. That you can like have a garden, have some chickens, have whatever, you know, we can't host here, like all the things.
Yep.
So I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I'm sure. Yeah, sure. A lot of ladies listening to this can resonate. So if you're in it, we're with you. And I know we'll all figure it out, but yeah, there's pros and cons of everywhere. But yeah, I think we're at that age. I want to settle down, you know?
Yeah. But you know, if the worst thing is I don't have room to replace all of my new fancy new
First
dishware.
world problems.
We're doing just fine. But it's nice to complain sometimes.
Yeah. Just the house. Anyone who's looking for a house, I'm sure can just relate. Yeah. Like, it's a low. I don't know if there's any high with house buying right now. Just in terms of living, being an adult, it's just, there's a lot to navigate. But aside from our first world problems, diamond necklaces, new hairstyles, all of those things, like, damn, they're probably like, shut up. No, but a house buying.
You know what? Something's going to humble us this weekend. We'll get it. Don't worry, guys. It's coming for us.
But we'll take a turn of direction on where this conversation's going. And we're going to be diving into our conversation with Michelle, which, like I said at the beginning, this was a really fun conversation. And it was very insightful and just lighthearted, but also very impactful. And so we're so excited for y'all to tune in. And now let's go to our conversation with Michelle. We are so excited to have a conversation today with Michelle Shack. And more often, you may know her on social media as Dairy Doc. And that's actually how I knew Michelle. And it's funny with social media that I know we all have real names. We're all real people, but very often it's like, okay, I know you as this specific name. So it is so nice, Michelle, to actually be getting to know you as Michelle and really having a conversation today. So thanks for being on Cowgirl Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And just so the audience can get to know who we are speaking with, before we start to dive into a little bit of the topic for today, we would love for you to just give a quick introduction of yourself. And I know I always say quick, and I don't want that to put pressure on that you feel like it has to be so small, so long. Just give the audience a little bit of a background of who you are, what you do, and all of those fun things.
Sure. So my name is Michelle Shack, and I'm originally from California, from the Bay Area. And I went to undergrad and vet school at UC Davis. Shout out to UC Davis. And after vet school, my husband and I moved to Arizona, and that's where I am currently. And I'm a livestock veterinarian. I work mostly with dairy cattle, but I do see some other species that you'll see on my channel. I'm a mom of 2 kids and also co-founder of an education company for dairy employees called Dairy Times. And I'm really passionate about sharing what I know with employees and farmers and consumers, and just the whole education piece is really exciting for me, and I love that. So I started this social media channel. I started out on TikTok a few years ago, and that really just grew and grew, which is a lot of fun. Last year I started the Instagram, and it's been a lot of fun to get to know the consumers and hear their questions, and I love it.
One thing you said in the beginning leads nicely into our next question is, what inspired you to be a veterinarian? And I don't know the Bay Area very well. I'm a girl from Pennsylvania, but I don't think there's many farms in the Bay Area. So I don't think it was you growing up in agriculture.
No. So I grew up the part of the Bay Area that I'm from. It's the Silicon Valley. So like a lot of my friends from high school ended up going to work for Facebook. The town that I grew up in is the Tesla headquarters, and so it's all very techy. And I always loved animals, though. And so I always knew I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to do a lot of other things like every kid does, but always a veterinarian as well. I was always finding animals and bringing them home, and had lots of pets. I had all the pets. And I thought I wanted to learn more about livestock. So I went to go join my local 4-H club, and I went there. Yeah, Emily's a big 4-H'er. I went to my 4-H club, and they were all quilting and scrapbooking, and there were no animals.
It's like, oh, okay.
Where I grew up, I didn't have access to 4-H and FFA like a lot of people do. I would have had to drive really far to get there. I guess I could have found it if I had driven really far, but it just didn't exist where I grew up. And so I went to UC Davis because they had the vet school, and majored in animal science because I wanted to be a veterinarian. And day one, they sit you down, Animal Science 1, and they say, this is a cow, this is a bull, and we go through all the different livestock species, and I loved it. So I really got involved in agriculture in undergrad. That was how I found my passion. I tried a lot of other things. I worked with some horses. I spent a summer at a zoo, trying to figure out, okay, well, I didn't know anything about cows and I really like them. Maybe there's something else I might want to do. But it all just kept coming back to the cows. And so I went to vet school and knew I wanted to do production animal agriculture just through my experiences in undergrad. I was really passionate about that. I worked on the dairy farm. I actually lived at the pig barn. They had a program where you could live there and then live there for free if you worked there. And that was a lot of fun. And so I knew I wanted to go into production animal medicine. And I didn't choose dairy actually until my 4th year of vet school. But I love it.
What was the craziest animal or craziest thing you got to do at the zoo?
We had a reindeer that had a big mass on its nose. Ooh. And we had to knock it down and take that off. That was kind of interesting. We had a mountain lion with a nasal tumor. So we were regularly anesthetizing it to give its treatment. I worked with the keepers a couple days, and I worked with the veterinarian was there 2 days. It was in Washington State, the zoo. And I spent the whole summer there, and it was amazing. But my favorite animals there were the bison and the elk, which really are just giant cows.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to the cows. But But yeah, it was really cool. We had beavers. We had to trim the beaver teeth because they grow throughout their lives.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
we trim beaver. Yeah, I did a lot of crazy stuff there. It was a lot of fun though.
That's amazing. So knowing that
That's
you had the
funny.
opportunity to work with literally any animal that you wanted, because that's a new fact I learned. I didn't know you had to trim the teeth of beavers. I thought they just chewed on the wood and it like gnawed them down, you know? But so knowing that you had access to basically any animal, and especially from someone who didn't grow up in agriculture, which I think is so freaking cool that you found your own way to get in, what really drew you to getting in production animals, production agriculture in that capacity? Because we all know that agriculture, and there's a lot of jobs that are very labor intensive, but agriculture is one that there's always a lot of hours, a lot of hard work that goes into it. So what drew you to that side of things?
Yeah, I mean, the animals are really cool. I love the animals, but I also really love the people. There's some really amazing people in agriculture, and I think my mindset really matches up with them. And and another thing is when you have a pet as a veterinarian, you can make a recommendation to someone who has a pet, and they may or may not do it, but people that are raising animals for a specific purpose, it's in their best interest to keep those animals as healthy as possible, and they want what's best for their animals. And so I find as a veterinarian, you get to be much more involved and really be a part of the team of the care of those animals. And I like that a lot. And I also feel it's really fulfilling to have sort of a greater purpose to be a part of food production. You know, these animals, they deserve to be cared for completely. But also, a big part of my role as a veterinarian is food safety and food security. So we are helping feed the world, not just your town or the country, but the world. The U.S. agriculture is amazing. And so just to be my small part of that feels really fulfilling for me.
Yeah, and I will say I did want to be a vet at one point growing up. I know you said that, like, I feel like everyone at one point. Becca, did you ever want to be a vet?
No, no,
No?
no offense. I'm you know, there's like a fight or flight kind of person. I'm a fright kind of person. So
Yes.
I probably said that a little bit too quickly, but I've always had a healthy, like, respectful fear of animals bigger than me, and I have all the respect in the world for veterinarians.
Yeah, what y'all do is awesome. And I was obsessed with animals, so I just thought naturally, like, oh, I'll just be a vet. But then I realized, okay, I'm obsessed with animals and I can see the surgeries, I can see the things, I can smell it, I can do all of that. But then we had one of our heifers, our dairy heifer, she had a wart on her ear. And like we had to cut it off and help with that. And I was like, no.
No.
Yeah.
I realized that I can see it, I can smell it, whatever that's involved, but the actual doing the thing that matters, I couldn't follow through with it. So shout out to you guys.
It's not for everyone.
So as you are someone that got involved in veterinarian work from someone who maybe wasn't involved in ag and really kind of found your own unique way in, especially if you weren't able to get involved in a lot of youth organizations, how would you encourage someone, and as it's majority of women that listen to our podcast, how would you encourage young women to really get involved in this field, whether they're coming from a little bit more of an ag background or if they're coming from more of a background like yours that sometimes maybe it feels really hard or even a little bit like scary to get into?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the biggest thing is just to get experience. So if you can get a job on a farm, if you can shadow a veterinarian, get a job at a local vet clinic, any of those things are really going to bring up your skills and your experience and your confidence. But also, they're going to help you know if this is the right thing for you. Like you said, Emily, it's not for everyone, even, and a lot of kids think it is because it's a well known job, but it's not for everyone. And there's so many different ways you can be involved in agriculture or work with animals, and you don't have to be a veterinarian to do that. So I always tell people, make sure that this is for sure what you want to do. And the only way you can know that is just by doing a lot of things. So it's the same as what I did in vet school. I tried so many different things and I got a lot of different experience. And so then by the time I came back to dairy, I was sure that's what I wanted to do. And I was so excited to work with dairy cattle and dairy farmers and that's because of all my experience. And I was able to bring in some of that experience from the other things that I had tried as well. So the more experience you get, it's only going to build you up. And I would highly encourage anyone to go try to get a job on a farm, on any farm. But dairy farmers, they need people to work. Labor shortages are huge, and just labor is one of the biggest challenges in the dairy industry right now. And so if you are interested in working on a farm, go check in with your local co-op, your local checkoff, a farmer that you may know, and see if you can get some experience just by working on the farm. The people that work on the farms are really, they're trained on farm typically by the farmers, by other employees, or by us, the veterinarians. But they're doing really advanced animal health style things. You know, they're helping cows give birth, they're giving medications, they're giving vaccinations. All of that is part of the daily job on the farm, and it's hugely, incredibly important. That was one of the big goals of Dairy Kind, our education company that we started, is to give everyone a base, because when people get hired, they're trained on farm, which is really good, but a lot of them maybe don't have as much experience, or they just have different levels of experience. And so to give them, it's an online education company where they can take the videos online from their mobile device or wherever and just get a good basics about how to handle the animals. Why are we milking cows? What are the expectations of your job? What's the importance of it? We want people that work on farms to appreciate and have pride in what they do, because it's a really important job and we need more people doing it. So I would say, yes, get involved to anyone even remotely interested.
So I want to dig more into this Dairy Kind
Sure.
program that you've started. And the question I have is, we've been talking about these moments or these ways and this journey that you've taken to become a dairy veterinarian. So was there this moment or just this event that happened to you that you were like, I need to create something for people, and then Dairy Kind came out of it?
Well, we were already doing a lot of training. So I'm a part of a practice. There's multiple doctors and we're partners, and we're all dairy veterinarians. And we were already doing a lot of training on farms. That's a big part of the veterinarian's role for dairy farmers. And we loved it. And it's a really important part of a veterinarian's job, still is. But it was hard for us to keep up. There's a lot of turnover on farms, or maybe somebody doesn't show up and the milking shift starts at 2 a.m. and they have to pull someone that doesn't normally milk into the milking parlor. Maybe they have never done it before, so they're getting a quick crash course. But we felt like by the time that we got to them, maybe they already were doing it for a while. And we wanted them to have the best chance that they could have to do the best job that they could do for the cows. That's so important. And so we were feeling this need for more training and more accessible training. And of course, everyone knows about the animal activist videos that come out. There's a lot of controversy around those, but the bottom line is there's zero tolerance for abuse on any dairy farm in the United States. It's unacceptable, and cows should not be abused in any way. But what we were finding is some of the people perhaps just didn't know what they were supposed to do. And they got in a situation that's not their normal situation, and they handled it poorly. But we wanted to give them the tools to do the best job that they could do and to understand how to handle those situations from day one. So my partners and I started this company, and it's been a lot of fun. The goal is really for them to have access to training at onboarding. So immediately the employees have access to that training, and perhaps maybe they are a milking technician, but they'd really love to work outside and work with the hospital cows. And so this allows them to sort of advance their education as well and take the initiative and show the farmer, hey, this is what I'm interested in. And the farmer can use that to identify employees with a lot of potential and move them into good spots. And then it's good for the buyers as well. That's not just the processor, the co-ops, the processors, the retailers, but the end consumer too. So there's some accountability there that these trainings are occurring and they're standardized, and we're making sure that we're covering all the things that are important to be covered. So it's just sort of multifactorial, I guess.
Speaking of consumers, I think you bring such a unique perspective to this conversation because you have the technical training, you have the on-farm experience, you have the on the zoo experience to give you this like grander view of animal care, but you also come from a non-farming community. And not only is it a non-farming community, it's Silicon Valley, which is like literally as opposite as it gets. Yeah. So, you know, as you've had all of these experiences, what would you say when you were like, what is one thing now that you wish consumers knew? And I know it's going to be hard to say one thing, so maybe top 3 things, I don't know, that consumers knew about animal agriculture. Like, if you could tell them anything, what would you want to make sure they know?
I would want people to know, and this is a big message that I have on my page, that farmers are owners of animals just like you're owning your pet, and they're just out here trying to do the best job that they can do day to day. And they have frustrations, same as we have frustrations, and they have good days and bad days, but the farmers aren't here to mistreat their animals. They're here trying to do the best job that they can do. And in my experience, farmers will really follow the science. I don't think a lot of people know how much science and research goes into farming. Or maybe they hear it and it sounds bad, but honestly, everything on the farm is so well thought out, and it's designed for the cows. The space of the stanchions, the type of milking parlor, the settings on the milking machine, all of those things, the diet of the animals, farmers are doing the best that they can, the best that they know how, and they're following the science, and they listen to consultants. They pay veterinarians to come help advise them, and they nutritionists, like they have a team of experts, more than I have a team of experts for my dog, that's for sure. You know, the farmers they're just trying to do the best that they can. And I think people have this idea that maybe there's a lot of farmers that don't care. They do care. And I guess the other kind of part of that I try to say every day on my videos is there's no one right way to farm. So you can bet the cows in my area are in a completely different housing system than the cows in Becca's area. And that's because you have different access to feed. You have different access to, the weather is different. And all of these things play into what style of housing or management the farmers are choosing. And if you tried to set up a farm like in my area, in Becca's area, it wouldn't work.
No.
It would be very bad situation. And same as if you tried to set up a farm like in Becca's area, in my area, also wouldn't work. It would not be good for the welfare of the animals. So I think it's really important for people to realize that farming can be very regional, and we can't just take one thing that we see and extrapolate it to the whole world. So if they have questions, I always encourage people to go visit your local farms and talk to a local farmer. Why do they do the things that they do? And why is their dairy set up this way? And you'll find that quite a lot of thought went into it, and they're just trying their best.
Yeah. They're so analytical. They're intentional. And there's always, most of the time, purpose behind what they are doing. Like, some things are on a whim, but not many things are on a whim. And we've talked about on the podcast before how farmers have to be everything. They have to be an engineer. They have to be an HR specialist. They have to be XYZ. And then the cows are almost treated like these Olympic athletes. You know how you were saying all these experts that come in for the cows that our dogs don't get. It's just crazy how much we invest in these animals for their welfare and for their production.
Yeah. I can say that And I'm not saying I'm a bad dog mom, but yeah, Hudson, I mean, that's my dog. He goes to the vet like once or twice a year, maybe for his yearly vaccinations and shots. And so
Yeah.
I think people just don't realize, yeah, truly how much care, collaboration, and science and research and just an investment in these animals that's going on behind the scenes. And is that really then, Michelle, what really instigated or encouraged you to go on social media and share more of your journey? Because let's be real, social media sucks sometimes in terms
Yeah.
of you can get a lot of crazies. You can get a lot of people coming in who maybe don't want to hear what you have to say. They just want to disagree with you. But you can also have some really awesome conversations. So, really, what spurred that for you and what encourages you to keep going? Because I love what you're doing on social media, but I know it's still social media. And sometimes it can be like, oh my gosh, is what I'm doing worth it? Is this working?
Yeah, I started it after we started Dairy Kind because I felt like the piece that was missing was the consumer piece.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and I've always been really passionate about sharing what I know out to others, just because everyone I grew up with, nobody has any experience with this, and honestly, that's not their fault. I
Yeah.
think that it can be really frustrating to those in agriculture of, well, people just don't know where their food comes from, and that can feel really frustrating. But I know, Becca and Emily, you guys have talked about this on a previous episode, but it's so important that we understand where they're coming from as well and connect with the consumer and not just lecture them or shame them for not knowing. So I felt like that was really a missing piece of the puzzle. And so I started it kind of not knowing how it would go. And I found that the educational videos really took off. Those were the ones that people wanted to see. They didn't want to see any trends. They didn't want to see, funny videos. They were like way engaged in the educational content, I was fine with that. So I was really excited to do that stuff because it's easier for me because it's just what I live daily.
Yeah.
And so I just answer questions now, and I love that. I try not to let the negative comments get to me. A lot of times I just ignore comments. What I've been really surprised and excited about is how many of my followers, when I ignore a negative comment, the followers will come out and they'll address the negative comment. So I have this like army of people behind me helping support me, and I love that. So it's been a lot of fun. And when I was in vet school, I used to help edit a blog for one of the veterinarians out of Iowa State, Dr. Scott Hurd, and he wrote this blog to reach consumers. And he would always say, we have to get out of the barnyard. How do we get out of the barnyard? It's so important. We got to get out of the barnyard. And so that's what I try to do, is just stay really respectful and factual so that I can reach other people. I think it's very easy to make people feel bad for what they don't know, or laugh about something when it seems so obvious to us, but maybe no one's ever told them that. And so I try really hard not to alienate anyone, and just to be a welcoming space for people to ask questions, even if they seem silly. And I hope that maybe by answering a really basic question for someone else is not afraid to ask their question that they're worried is too basic, because we are all here to learn. And so it's been a lot of fun from that perspective as well.
So Taylor Swift has her Swifties.
What are yours called? What's your army called?
When your followers come out, what do you call them?
I don't know. They need
the Dairy Dockers. Let's revisit that.
Let me know.
Okay. Yeah. If anyone listening, if you have grand ideas, please, because
they're great.
Your last name's also cool. Something with like Shaq, like basketball Shaq and you and Shaq. I don't know how that would intertwine. I'm just throwing
going with something like Michelle's heard.
I'm throwing spaghetti at a wall and it's not sticking right now.
Yeah. Spaghetti is sliding down the wall.
But yeah, everything you said is it was just getting me really excited and fired up in a positive way listening to that. And again, I know we talked about it here in the podcast, but yeah, agriculture needs to be more inclusive. We don't need to push more people out. We don't need to make more people feel silly or embarrassed, for the questions that they're asking, because there is so much misinformation on the internet. And then you pair that with it's like less than 2% of the population being directly like on farms or ranches, that's a combination to make people feel really lost and overwhelmed. And yeah, just sometimes saying like, this isn't worth it. So I love your perspective of we can't get mad. We can't like shame these people or just snap at them because they are, very often coming from a place of curiosity. If someone's being a jerk and just wants to argue, like you said, leave the army to it. They can take care of them.
Yeah, yeah. And I find that, yeah, a lot of people are curious.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to know, and they've never had anyone that they could ask. So I'm happy to be that person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
it's,
I mean, if you don't have to, if you're never put in a position where you have to ask, why would you ask, right?
Mhm.
So, something else that's a big part of our lives is clothing. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's like I've never cared to look at how my clothing is produced or where I come from until
Yeah.
one day, like a cotton farmer came across my algorithm. I'm like, oh, maybe I should care about this more. But I've never been in a position where I would have to ask, right? And being
Yeah.
clothed and fed are two very critical things that just happen for
mm-hmm.
us. So it's like we've all been in a position where we probably don't care about something that people are deeply passionate about, like we are about
Yeah.
cows.
That's such a
So
good point. And for example, yeah, I know nothing about Silicon Valley, all that stuff. Like there's so much that goes into that. And yeah, it's just being okay that we don't all know everything, ask the questions and be receptive to that. And I've loved seeing more people involved in ag do that on social media. And shout out to y'all for dealing with the people who may not be as positive to really educate the people who do care. And with being on social media, and aside from that, that's just a small part, of course, of what you do. But whether it's on that or from what you've seen within your work, I would love to hear maybe the craziest thing. And I know we talked about the zoo, but maybe the craziest thing that you've
I don't know if
seen.
she can beat the beaver teeth,
The
but
I
beaver
know.
teeth.
So we'll give you two options. Maybe one of the craziest things that you've seen or dealt with or just experienced or learned as you've really been involved kind of in the dairy side of things. Or again, maybe one of the craziest questions or trends or misconceptions you've seen on social media and or both.
Oh boy, that's a lot. The craziest things that I've seen as a vet are maybe your listeners don't want to hear about.
No, we're here for it.
I
That's why I
always
wanted
think
to
like
ask.
disease processes and all of those are really super interesting. But maybe I'll tell you one story. So this is not really the craziest thing, but an example of maybe why we don't want to get into it. So I got asked to go to one of my clients' farms to give a tour to the farmer's son's biology class. It was like an advanced biology class, and they were giving a tour and talking about. So they asked me as a veterinarian to come and do a necropsy. So I came and I did a necropsy of a calf, and all the kids were really interested. Talked, this is the kidney, here's the lungs, here's the intestines. Like I showed them all the parts. I mean, it's a biology class, right, in high school. And so I'm going through it, and then the son whose class it was walked away and fainted.
Oh
And
no.
I have realized that maybe what's interesting to me is not interesting to all people.
Should have given like trigger warning. This is
Yeah,
kind of gross.
yeah. But yeah, I guess on social media, I've heard a lot of really interesting things. I think there's a lot that are misconceptions, like you're saying. Um, and things that I had never heard. I mean, apparently there's some people out there that think that milk is genuinely made up of pus and blood, which is absolutely not true. And then I realized that. But then so what I did is I stopped and I tried to figure out why would they think that and where is that coming from. And turns out people are really concerned about somatic cells. They've
Mm-hmm.
heard that somatic cells can be up to 750,000. They're commonly 100, 200,000. That's normal for cows, but they think that somatic cells are pus cells. So then I went and looked up human breast milk, and the somatic cell count in human breast milk can actually be a lot higher and is normally a lot higher than that.
Huh.
So then I tried to share some of those facts, like, hey, this is not what you think it is. These cells are normal cells and they're supposed to be in the milk. That is different than a pus. I don't know what a pus cell is. Again, term, but
such a terrible word.
Yeah, so it's like super interesting to me the things that they come up with, and then what it was behind that. But then also we get people that are just asking really basic questions like, oh, where does the pee come from? Does it come from her udder? I had that question.
Oh
And
man. Oh man.
And it's easy to laugh at that, but if we make fun of that one person, then maybe someone else will be too scared to have that question, right? So maybe I tried to answer that really factually. I'm a doctor. I can handle that. So I answered that question, and I hope that I educated someone. And honestly, I don't know. Maybe that person, it was never explained to them. Maybe they've never seen a cow before and don't know the cow's anatomical parts. Maybe they're 11 years old. It's just a screening. You have no idea who's behind that. And so I tried really hard to be respectful. And then I guess the other thing I would just bring up is I always get really funny comments too. People that just downright make me laugh. Like I had the post dip that sanitizes the udder after the cow is milked. On many farms is colored, and on one of my farms is colored blue. And I had this video of a cow walking and her udder was blue and like kind of her back end. And somebody commented, "Does a cow have blue coochieitis?" And it's so
oh my gosh.
And people are really clever and they just make me laugh. So
my gosh. Our agenda, like TikTok has made everyone, as I say, so unserious. We're just so unserious about things.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that's it. Hilarious. It's so fun to be able just to laugh about it.
That's like whenever, that just takes me back to whenever I asked my friends for their favorite, like their biggest questions about cows or like the craziest things that I've told them. One? And my friend Sully was like, it's so crazy how milk comes out of their penis. And I was like, oh my God, Sully.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I did a post on semen and like handling and looking at it under the microscope. And then I followed it up with a post about milking, and someone was like, so are we drinking cow semen?
Ooh, yeah, you're like, maybe the timeline on that wasn't the best.
You know what? Yeah, people just don't know, and it just that's okay.
But that's good that you've created that platform that people feel comfortable
asking
these questions.
That's so
Somehow
funny.
I got here, and here I am.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we love where you came from, and I feel like how you answer these questions is so insightful, right? So like, I'm going to laugh at someone who says, do they pee out of their udders? Which is funny. But then you come in and say, okay, but like, wait a second. Now they're going to be afraid to ask a question. So I really appreciate how you bring in the side of always considering, like where the information is coming from. And I think you take really insightful approaches to, every step of this journey that you've been on. So I'm really curious. You've gone after some big goals. You've gone after being a vet. You've gone after starting your own company. You've gone after starting social media. So what advice do you have for women who want to go for a big goal or a big dream?
For women who want to go for a big goal, agriculture is still very male dominated. And so I think one big message is that women and men are not equal, and that's okay. I think women need to stop comparing themselves to men, and you need to find your own strength and go with that, right? There's a lot of really powerful women out there, and you too can be a powerful woman in your own way. You don't have to do it like anyone else. But if you find your passion and find your inner strength, then I think that you can do anything. And I think, I guess, another message would be to make sure that you're surrounding yourselves with really supportive people. I have a really supportive family, my husband, my kids, my family. my family in California, they don't understand what I'm doing half the time because it's so out of where I grew up. But they're super supportive, and then my partners in my practice and in my business, the clients that I work with some really amazing farmers, and just surrounding yourselves with really positive people, supportive people, that's going to really help you go far.
Yeah. I love that the focusing in on and honing in on the individuality that you bring to whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's a really special way to look at it. And I love it.
I know. I was listening to that. Like, you probably just saw me cheesy, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love
Yeah.
this so much." Because, yeah, I think so often we get caught up in there's only one way to get involved in ag or to do this thing or to be successful with it. And I think as more and more women get involved, it's showing that you get to forge your own path with it. And we're not trying to be exactly like men or anyone else in it, because women bring in a really amazing perspective. We bring in different skills, different emotions, right? That is needed in agriculture. And yeah, you saying that was just, yeah, really inspiring. And it's just that reminder that also your path may, yeah, again, not look like anyone else's. That doesn't mean it's wrong. And it may lead you to a really cool place. I mean, look where you've ended up when you grew up. Was it like, okay, I have no idea where it's going to be, but probably looking back then, it may not have been at this spot exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I do some public speaking as well, and that's like a big message, I think, is everybody, you can get involved in agriculture in a lot of different ways. Or if you're already involved in agriculture, you don't have to be the farmer. I mean, look at the two
Mm-hmm.
of you, right? You are no longer the farmer on the
Mm-hmm.
farm, but you're still hugely involved in agriculture, and you're really playing supporting roles that are really important in their own right. The farmers are very busy just taking care of the cows, doing what they have to do. So all of these support roles, we're all connected. And if we can all work together, that's just going to bring the industry up as a whole and bring up our food system as a whole, which is really powerful.
Girl power. Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. All right. Well, oh my gosh. I always love the conversations we get to have with ladies on here, because I always get like really fired up at the end of it. But,
Yeah, Em and I will always text for like, all right, let's go run through a brick wall.
It's just, yeah, it's so exciting. There's so many amazing ladies out there in agriculture. And before we dive into our fun little hot take that you get to participate in, where can everyone find you on social media? I mean, I'm sure you don't want to like give your real address. So on social media, where can people connect with you and continue learning more about what you do and dairy?
Yeah, so they can follow me on TikTok at DairyDoc, on Instagram at dairy.doc, there's a period in there, and on Facebook at DairyDoc. I just try to keep it consistent.
Love it.
And please message me. I've been trying to do more stories and do a little more personal stuff and engage. I've been doing some polls, and that's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate the engagement of everyone. So come hang out if you want to learn more about cows.
It's really fun. If y'all don't follow her already, it is. I even learned stuff. Again, we grew up in dairy, not directly on a farm, so I even follow along, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Yes, that's so cool.
And staying on the dairy theme, Becca came up with a fun little hot take for our week. So again, we always do our weekly obsessions, our weekly hot takes. And this kind of does a throwback to one of our first episodes. If we were like, if you could only pick one dairy product, what would it be and why? But Becca's question that she wanted us all to think through, and she gets to go first because apparently she already has hers thought out. If your it's so funny, and like I feel like a child. If your personality was an ice cream flavor, what would it be and why? So Becca, let's hear your insight to this.
I don't appreciate your mocking tone of me trying to bring
like it, but
humor.
It's a hard question. I don't know.
It's a hard question.
I would be a lactose-free, coffee-flavored ice cream. Or how about, Emmy, no, I'm going to get even more specific, and I'll tell you why. A lactose-free coconut latte ice cream.
Wow. You find this flavor.
I know, right? One, lactose-free because I'm lactose intolerant, fun fact, but lactose-free allows you to still enjoy real dairy. The latte coffee part, because I I feel like I have a lot of energy. I'll bring energy to a situation. And coconut is like friendly, but a little, unexpected. So maybe this ice cream is aspirational of how I want
I wonder how it would actually taste too. Coffee coconut.
You literally just had a coconut coffee this morning
Oh, I did.
on your
That was
Instagram story.
Whoops. Yes, I did. Yesterday morning, I had my Nespresso pod was tropical coconut iced.
Yeah.
So, and it was iced. It was even cold. I'm silly. Oh, wow. Well, that was much more insightful than what I was thinking to say. So, Michelle, do you have a one to follow up with that, or I can go because mine's I'm kind of winging it.
Mine is not that complicated. Because maybe I'm not that complicated. I was just gonna say cookie dough.
Oh,
Because it gets along with everything. You put it with chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. It just hangs out with everybody, and there's just a nice little unexpected treat in there. But it's pretty tasty, and I really like cookie dough.
is it your favorite?
That I guess I have a lot of favorites, so I don't know if it's my one favorite, but it would make my top 5, that's for sure. And I like to bake cookies. I'm a big baker, so I feel like it's a little bit near and dear to my heart.
I feel like that's a very approachable ice cream flavor
Yes.
too.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my, yeah, that's perfect for you and the environment and the community that you've built. All right, well, let's see if I can follow up. So,
come on, Em, you're the closer. Let's hear it.
Oh, God. Half Baked by Ben and Jerry's. Not because I'm like high or anything. Or like I know when I said that I was like the name. It's not the name. It's what makes up the flavor. So it's almost like a jack of all trades type of ice cream. And you got the vanilla ice cream with cookie dough. You got the chocolate ice cream with the brownies in it. And also, that was like one of my first favorite ice cream flavors that was just so different. I was like, oh my gosh, I think everyone loved Half Baked at one point. I even think there's one with peanut butter in it. So we can throw that in there because I love peanut butter. But I feel like this ice cream, it's so fun, but it just has a lot going on. And it just has a lot of passions. a lot of passions. And I think so often it's always like we have to stick in this one box and do this one thing. You always think you have to go this one path. And I feel like so often I feel like I'm going a lot of different directions. And sometimes I feel like, is that a bad thing? Are people not going to be able to relate? Do I not really fit into one category? And that's even how I kind of felt when I started Dairy Girl Fitness of I was combining two things that really don't involve with each other at all and two very different types of community. And so that's where maybe I feel like, I'm half baked in just terms of I'm combining a lot of different things that work together in a really delicious and amazing way. And yeah, it's like the best flavor. So I'll take that.
That's great.
Yeah, I did it. I was kind of stressed about that. I was like, I hope I can make this make sense.
You know what you guys should do is allow people to submit suggestions for your hot takes.
Ooh, yes. I want to hear everyone else's personality trait turned into ice cream.
There you go.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, everyone. We're going to post it on social media, but if you're just like fired up right now.
Answer boxes have enough space.
I think we could.
How thoughtful and insightful.
Yeah.
You are. Just you.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm very intrigued by all this. Now I'm inspired to think even more in depth after this. I'm going to be like, you know what? Really, what am I? I'm going to ask my husband. I'm going to ask everyone what ice cream flavor they think they are. But aside from that, this was just such a fun, insightful conversation. And I'm just going to be walking away from this conversation feeling inspired and excited about, the women that are involved in ag and the people that are encouraging others to really get involved with this. And so if y'all enjoyed this episode, as always, we ask if you want to leave a review, subscribe, follow, drop any comments on social media as well. And like Michelle said, feel free to reach out to her. But as always, we really do appreciate the support. We just love getting to have amazing conversations like this. So Michelle, thank you so much for being on Cowgirl Talk with us today.
Yeah, I'm official cowgirl now. Thank you for having me.
And as always, have a great day, cowgirls. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.